TOEFL IBT test, listening question types. Hello everyone, my name is Cristina Egüez and today I'm going to be your instructor. The first type is just questions. Inside of this we have just content and just purpose. But what is this? This is the main point or key idea of something. These content questions ask you to identify the main topic or idea of the listening conversation or lecture. And these purpose questions ask you to identify what the main purpose of the conversation or lecture is. So, how can you identify the questions? It's so easy. You recognize this content and this purpose questions because they use phrases like, what is the subject of the passage? What is the topic of the discussion? What is the professor mainly discussing? What is the purpose of the talk? And where does the student go to see the advisor? It's important in the listening section there will always be either a gist content question or a gist purpose question, but never both. This question will be the first question after listening to the passage. Let's look at some sample gist content and gist purpose questions, but first we listen a part of a conversation between a student and a coach.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hey, Coach. I just thought I'd stop by to see what I missed while I was gone.
Well, we've been working real hard on our plan for the next game.
For a gist content question, you may hear,
what are the speakers mainly discussing?
And for a gist purpose question, you may hear,
why does the student go to see the coach?
Other type is detailed questions. This kind of question will ask you to remember specific facts about the conversation or a lecture. You can recognize detailed questions because they include phrases like, what does the professor say about? What is stated in the passage about? What is indicated in the passage about? Why does the man suggest? How? When? Where did? Detailed questions will always ask you about an important conceptual detail. You will not be expected to memorize trivial details such as whether something happened in 1997 or what happened in 1976. So let's look at a sample detailed question. First, here we have a part of a conversation between a coach and a student who are catching up while the student was away.
A new team jacket.
Wow, how'd that happen?
A woman who played here about 25 years ago came through town a few weeks ago and saw a game and said she wanted to do something for the team, so...
So she's buying us new jackets?
Yep.
So the question you may hear is,
Who is buying new jackets for the team?
other type of question is attitude question. This kind of question asks you to show understanding of the speaker's attitude or their feelings about something. You can recognize attitude questions because they include phrases like, what is the professor's attitude opinion? What does the student think about? What can be inferred about the speaker? What does the speaker mean? To identify the speaker's attitude, listen to phrases like, what I think, or it seems to me, in a lecture or a conversation. Now let's look at a sample attitude question from a literature lecture about detective novel.
The Moonstone, if you read it as, come to it as a contemporary reader, what's interesting is that most of the features you find in almost any detective novel are, in fact, already present. It's hard at this juncture to...
So the question you may hear is,
what attitude does the professor express when he says this?
It's hard at this juncture to read this novel and realize that no one had ever done that before, because it all seems so strikingly familiar.
Other type is organization question. This kind of question asks you to show understanding of how a lecture is structured. You can recognize organization questions because they often include phrases like, why do the speaker discuss or mention? How is the information organized? What is explained illustrated by the example of? Click, put a check or mark in the correct column or box. Now let's look at a sample organization question from a literature lecture about detective novels, including one titled The Moonstone. The passage focuses on an important character from the Moonstone named Sergeant Cuff, who is trying to solve a crime.
Now, these detective heroes, they have this characteristic of being smart, incredibly smart, but of not appearing to be smart.
The question you may hear is,
Why does the professor mention a smeared bit of paint in a doorway in the Moonstone?
Other type is function questions. This kind of question asks you to identify a particular meaning of a statement in a given context, because a statement can have different meanings depending on the situation. In other words, the real meaning is different from the surface or literal meaning. You can recognize function questions because they include phrases like, why does the speaker say this? What does the speaker mean? Or what does the speaker imply? Now let's look at a sample question from a conversation between a coach and a student.
Okay.
By the way, how did your brother's wedding go?
Oh, it was beautiful. And the whole family was there. I saw aunts and uncles and cousins I hadn't seen in years.
So it was worth the trip.
Oh, definitely.
So the question you may hear is,
What does the man mean when he says family's very important?
other is inference questions. This kind of question asks the listener to show understanding of the meaning of something that is not directly stated in the lecture or conversation. You can recognize inference questions because they use phrases like, what does the speaker mean? What can be inferred about the speaker? And what is the speaker's attitude or opinion? Now, let's look at a sample inference question from a literature lecture about detective novels, including a famous one called The Moonstone.
Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police. And this is the dynamic that you're going to see throughout the history of the detective novel.
So the question you may hear is,
What does the professor imply when he says this?
Well, let me try to give you a sense of who Sergeant Cuff is by first describing the regular police.
other is connecting content. This kind of question asks you to show understanding of the relationships among ideas in a lecture. Connecting content questions may require you to fill in a chart or table. Also, you will be asked to put together information from different senses or different parts of the conversation or lecture. You can recognize this kind of question because they use phrases like, why do the speaker discuss mention? How is the information organized? What is explained illustrated by the example of? Please put a check mark in the correct column or box. Now let's look at a sample connecting content from a conversation between a coach and a student.
And the other players unanimously picked you to take over as captain when Mary leaves.
Wow! I saw everybody this morning and nobody said a word.
The question you may hear is,
Why is the woman surprised?
the last one is inference and conclusion questions. These kind of questions are less common. You can identify this kind of question because they have phrases like, what will the speaker probably or most likely to do next? Example, you may hear, what is implied about the math placement test? What is the student most likely going to do? What does the professor imply? Well, I hope this tutorial helped you a lot in the listening section, and see you next time. Thank you.